You hear breathing in the grass before you see the eyes. The fire is dying, the darkness is moving, and something nearby has spent its entire life learning how to kill bodies shaped like yours. For much of human evolution, your ancestors were not standing safely above the food chain. They were inside it. Meat-eating animals watched the same paths, waited beside the same water, and entered the same caves that ancient humans needed for shelter. Which predator would have frightened you most? The answer changes with the place. In Africa, a leopard could attack from above. Near a river, a crocodile could erase you without warning. Across Ice Age Eurasia, lions, hyenas, wolves, and bears could turn a shelter into a battlefield. Even the sky was not always safe. Start with the leopard. A leopard does not need to defeat a whole group. It needs one person to drift too far from the others. It waits in cover attacks with explosive speed and often drags prey into a tree or protected place before larger scavengers arrive. At Swartkrans Cave in South Africa, paleoanthropologist Charles Kimberlin Brain studied the broken bones of early human relatives and the carnivores found beside them. One famous skull fragment, known as SK54, carried punctures that Brain interpreted as matching the spacing of leopard canine teeth. Taphonomy. The study of what happens to a body after death allowed him to ask a brutal question from marks and bone. Who had eaten whom? Brain's work helped overturn an older image of early humans as naturally dominant hunters. Some ancient hominins were predators at times. At other times, they were prey. You would not hear a leopard roar before an attack. You might hear nothing. A branch would move. A shadow would fall. Then a powerful cat could strike the neck before your hands found a weapon. Could you remain close enough to the group every minute of the day? Now look upward. Around 2 million years ago, a young Australopithecus africanus died near what is now Taung, South Africa. The fossil became famous as the Taung child, one of the discoveries that transformed the study of human origins. For decades, large cats were obvious suspects. Then, Lee Berger and William McGraw compared damage on the Taung child's skull with marks left on monkeys killed by modern crowned eagles. They described punctures and feeding damage consistent with a large bird of prey. The exact story can never be replayed, but the evidence made one terrifying possibility difficult to ignore. A child in the human family may have been taken from above. Imagine watching a small child gather food only a few steps away. The sky appears empty. The adults are speaking. Then broad wings, closed talons strike, and the danger is already leaving before anyone understands what happened. How do you defend against a predator that arrives from the air? You learn where it nests. You recognize its call. You keep children beneath branches near adults and away from exposed ground. Survival becomes a collection of rules that seem ordinary only after many deaths have taught them. The water carries a different lesson. You approach a river because your body needs it. The bank is quiet. The surface is flat. A floating shape looks like wood until the wood has eyes. Crocodiles are ambush predators. They hide most of the body, explode from the water, seize prey, and pull it into an environment where struggling becomes almost useless. At Olduvai Gorge in Tanzania, Jackson Nyao and Robert Blumenschina examined bones marked by crocodile feeding. Some early hominin fossils from the area carried damage consistent with crocodile teeth. Paleontologist Christopher Brochu later helped describe an extinct horned crocodile from Olduvai called Crocodilus anthropophagus, a name that means the human-eating crocodile. The name sounds dramatic. The evidence requires caution. Tooth marks can show that crocodiles consumed hominin bodies, but they do not always prove whether the crocodile killed the individual or found the body later. Still, a large ambush predator living beside essential water would not need a special preference for humans. It would need only an opportunity. Would thirst make you step closer? That is what makes crocodiles so frightening. You must enter their territory repeatedly. You can avoid a cave. You can change a trail. You cannot stop needing water. Experienced people would read the bank before drinking. They would look for slide marks, disturbed mud-floating eyes, and places where the water becomes deep immediately. They might send several adults together, and keep children farther back. Knowledge would not remove the risk. It would reduce it. Then night falls and the hyenas begin calling. A hyena is easy to misunderstand. It is not merely a cowardly scavenger waiting for leftovers. Spotted hyenas are powerful hunters with crushing jaws, complex social groups, and the confidence to challenge lions. Ancient humans and hyenas wanted many of the same things: meat, caves, shade, safe places to raise young. A carcass found on open ground could become the center of a violent negotiation. Your group might reach it first, cut away meat, and hear hyenas before seeing them. The laughter-like calls would multiply. Eyes would appear beyond the light. How long would you stay for one more piece? Giant short-faced hyenas, such as Pachyrhinaceae, lived alongside early humans in parts of Africa and Eurasia. Some were larger than modern spotted hyenas. Even when these animals did not hunt humans directly, they could steal food, occupy shelters, and punish anyone caught alone. A stolen carcass meant more than a lost dinner. It meant wasted energy. It meant hunger tomorrow. It meant another dangerous search. The predator did not need to eat you to shorten your life. Lions created the same pressure on a larger scale. The cave lion of Ice Age Eurasia was closely related to modern lions, but lived across cold grasslands and open landscapes. It shared the territory with Neanderthals and later modern humans, following many of the same large herbivores that people hunted. A lion could attack a hunter. It could take a child. It could force a group away from a carcass that had required hours of tracking and enormous risk to obtain. Yet lions also reveal the moment when the balance began to change. At Siegsdorf in Germany, researchers studied a cave lion skeleton dating to roughly 48,000 years ago. Gabriele Russo and colleagues identified a puncture injury on a rib that they argued was consistent with a wooden spear entering the animal's chest. At Einhornhöhle or Unicorn Cave, cut marks on much older cave lion toe bones suggested that Neanderthals removed a pelt while leaving the claws attached. Your ancestors did not simply hide from the great cats. Sometimes they hunted them. Why would anyone attack an animal capable of killing a person in seconds? The answer may include meat fur protection status symbolism or the removal of a dangerous competitor. Whatever the reason, approaching a cave lion required planning that no single, unarmed human could replace. One person could distract. Another could thrust a spear. Others could block escape. The most dangerous weapon in the scene was not wood or stone. It was coordination. Bears were another threat, but not in the way popular stories often suggest. Cave bears were enormous. Many relied heavily on plant foods, and they were not roaming Europe as dedicated human hunters. Yet a mostly plant-eating bear can still destroy a human body when surprised, cornered, or protecting a sleeping place. The problem was real estate. A cave offered shelter from wind, rain, and cold. It also offered shelter to bears. Entering darkness without knowing what slept inside could turn a search for safety into a fatal mistake. You would smell the cave. You would study tracks. You would listen. Would you notice fresh claw marks before taking another step? Wolves has created a more complicated relationship. Packs could compete for prey and surround vulnerable individuals, especially during hard winters. But over thousands of years, some wolves also moved closer to human camps, beginning a relationship that eventually produced dogs. The animal beyond the fire could become an enemy. Its distant descendant could become an alarm system hunting partner and companion. Predators did not shape human survival only by killing. They changed where your ancestors slept when they traveled, how they watched children, and how tightly groups stayed together. Even prey animals could be deadly. A wounded boar can open an artery with its tusks. A wild bull can crush ribs. An elephant can trample a hunter who misjudges distance. A large antelope can kick with enough force to break bone. The animal you're trying to eat is also trying to survive. Would you still call it prey when it turns and charges? This is where the word deadliest becomes difficult. Fossils preserve some tooth marks and some damaged skulls, but they do not record every body that disappeared in water, every child carried away, or every hunter who died days after a wound became infected. Soft tissue vanishes. Entire attacks leave no trace. The archaeological record is not a complete list of victims. It is what survived. That means no honest researcher can produce a perfect ranking of ancient human predators. Leopards left evidence. Eagles left possible evidence. Crocodiles left feeding traces. Hyenas and lions left damaged bones and shared landscapes. But the animal that killed most often may never be known. Now reconstruct one evening. You are walking back toward camp with food in your hands. The light is fading. A river lies to your right, tall grass to your left, and a line of rocks ahead. The river may hide a crocodile. The grass may hide a cat. The rocks may hold hyenas waiting for darkness. Above you, a large bird circles on warm air. You cannot watch every direction at once, so another person watches the river. Someone else carries a spear. An older child stays near the center. A grandparent remembers that hyenas used this path during the last dry season and tells the group to turn uphill. That memory saves everyone without producing a fossil. Here is the counterintuitive truth. Ancient humans did not escape predators because the human body became faster, stronger, or better armed than every animal around it. A leopard remained faster. A lion remained stronger. A crocodile remained more powerful in water. Your ancestors survived by turning many nervous bodies into one shared system. One pair of eyes saw movement. One voice gave warning. One person remembered the safe route. One group returned for the injured. Fire extended vision into darkness. Spears extended danger beyond the reach of teeth. Language extended one person's experience into another person's mind. Culture became the predator that predators could not understand. The effect reached into your modern brain. A sudden sound at night still pulls your attention before conscious thought. Faces appear in shadows. Children fear darkness even when the bedroom door is locked. Your body reacts first because hesitation was once expensive. That fear is not proof of weakness. It is an inheritance. The ancient world was filled with animals that could kill your ancestors, but fear alone did not keep the human line alive. Attention did. Cooperation did. The ability to turn terror into information did. You hear breathing in the grass before you see the eyes. The fire is still dying. The darkness is still moving. But now you are listening together.